This is Center Stage, putting your firm in the spotlight by highlighting business owners and other industry experts to help take your firm to the next level. Hey everyone, and welcome to Center Stage. I'm your host, John Henson, and this week we're discussing something that I think many lawyers deal with or have a need for from time to time, and that is the need for forensics. And I'll be completely upfront with all of you. Like, this is a topic that I personally am not super familiar with. I'm more in that marketing world. I don't get into kind of the day-to-day, elements of casework and things that you guys might be dealing with. But I do know that it's something that many lawyers have questions about, and they're looking for resources. And so I have found someone who I think can provide that help. So I'm going to be just as much of a listener today as a host. And so I will allow our guest this week to really hand over a lot of that expertise. And that is Edgar Fritz from Reliance Forensics. So Edgar, thanks for joining us.
Hey, no problem.
So yeah, real quick, tell us about yourself, a little bit about Reliance Forensics. How'd you get into this world?
So I come from the background of law enforcement. I worked for the FBI for almost 20 years, and I had several different job roles within the FBI. None more specifically in forensics, but while I was with the FBI, I did have a couple of what we called collateral duties, where you are still doing your 9 to 5 job, but then you do other jobs as needed. So it's not a full-time thing that you're doing. You're just, whenever it's needed, you get to work with something else. So one of those duties was working with digital media for one of the units in our headquarters. And I got to learn a lot about closed circuit television and body cam recordings, doing enhancements on audio and video, also doing some obscuring. So if you ever see a bank robbery and there's innocent bystanders and you don't want those people to be shown, just blurring out people in the background, things of that nature. Also with audio recordings, doing the same thing. If we have a confidential informant and he has a recording with some subjects, we don't want our informant's voice to be clear to the listener if this is going to trial or if it's just going to be shown to other people of interest. We want to kind of maintain that covertness. I learned a lot of those skills while I was with the FBI. And I've been able to use these skills here in the private sector at Reliance Forensics.
Awesome. So, I guess broadly speaking, because I know you guys and your kind of specialty is in that media forensics kind of arena. You talked about, altering voices, blurring out faces. Is that technically media forensics, or is there a lot more to it than that?
There's definitely a lot more to it. So that was just one of the job roles that I had prior.
Okay.
But I did get a master's degree in digital media forensics, and that was more on the authentication piece of it. So getting more in depth into what is a file, audio file, video file, image, and see if it's authentic. See if it's been altered in any way, things of that nature, trying to figure out what recording device created a recording. So that is more what is considered more of the traditional forensics. But that term forensics is used very broadly. People will use forensics for anything from looking at a video and trying to see if we can obtain a license plate, or if we can see, hey, is that the same shirt that's being used by this person in this video? Is that the same shirt that we have here in person? Can we tell the height of a person that's walking into a store from the video? So it's a very general, broad term that's used as forensics. Now, specifically media forensics is going to be more on that authentication side of things.
So cool. So yeah, so basically, just getting any kind of information and all that. Are there things in that you are, um, you know, I guess where's that line between things that you're legally allowed to do with various forms of media versus where it becomes like you just can't legally do that?
Well, it depends what the purpose of what we're doing is, right? Here at Reliance Forensics, we're not always working for a case that's going to be going to trial, right? So
Mhm.
if we're taking somebody's audio recording and they're like, "Hey, I recorded this phone call between myself and this other party, but I can't really hear what's going on, and it was a legally obtained recording, and we're just trying
Mhm.
to enhance it." Um, it definitely is something that we can do to help to provide the client with something that's going to be useful to them. Um,
Got it.
we are well, myself, I'm not an attorney,
Right.
so I don't make those decisions as far as legality of what we were obtaining and what we're not. Um, but we do usually work with the attorneys in order to make sure that everything that's done here is done properly, right?
Got it.
So I can perform something to enhance a video or obscure something, and that depending on the attorney, if they're going to be able to use that in court or not, or if it's even
Mhm.
going to court or not.
Got it. So essentially, you guys just do the work. It's really up to the attorney, and the liability is really on the attorney as to whether or not it's legally admissible.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
So
So
our
so
director,
yeah.
here at Reliance Forensics is an attorney,
Okay.
but he's not practicing as an attorney.
Right.
He does provide us some guidance, and he knows what's going on as far as um, what we're doing for our own benefit. But at the end of the day, it's going to be on the attorneys that are hiring us to
Yeah.
know what is legally admissible and what is not.
Yeah, and that's probably the smart way to do it for sure.
Yeah.
So, what's the process kind of look like for enhancing digital media? I mean, so like, like what kind of technology or would you even use to do that? Like, is it, for example, like in our world, we can use something like Photoshop to like remove people from images or like enhance images in that way. Is it like, does the technology that you guys use, is that just like, is it something that's readily available that anybody can use, or is it something special in your industry?
Well, to be honest, the Adobe Suites is something that's used in forensics. It is some of the tools that are used as an industry standard. It is
Mhm.
some powerful um, software,
Yeah.
and as I'm sure you know, Photoshop. The way that most consumers use it is you're not even getting into a a tenth of what it can do. So
Yeah.
those are very powerful tools. There are other softwares that do similar things, but at the end of the day, all we're doing is taking in some pixels or some audio signal, and we're changing it in one way or another.
Mhm.
So all it is the software that's able to manipulate that information and then
Yeah.
put something out that's enhanced or obscured or whatever you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Um,
So, I know in your case, you said you had worked with the FBI, and then you kind of got into this world. I mean, did you, and other people kind of in your similar position, is there, kind of an audio engineering background, a video editing background component to it? Or is it just, you kind of learn these things as you go?
Well, it does vary.
Yeah.
Personally, I have a master's degree in digital media forensics,
Okay.
which does come from a school that is in the media program. So it's
Yeah.
more on the recording arts, and a lot of the people that I went to school with do have that background from the recording arts. So they went from more of a musical background and into more of this technical forensic because at the end of the day, the skills do translate. So if
Mhm.
you know how to clean up audio, if you know how to enhance or remove background noise, things like that, that's going to be the techniques that are being used to enhance an audio for a um, authentication, or sorry, for a trying to enhance it for um, a speaker's voice or so of that nature. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, we kind of talked a little bit about like, enhancement and authentication, and I just want to make sure that I understand it properly. The it's basically kind of step one, step two, right? Or are they kind of interchangeable?
No, they're different pieces of the puzzle. So it just depends on what we're looking at.
Okay.
Sometimes we're just trying to enhance um, a video so we can see a subject's identifying features, like if we're
Hmm.
trying to look at a tattoo or a license plate on a vehicle or things like that.
Yeah.
That's on the enhancement side of it. Authentication can be anything between, hey, was this recording made with this camera or this recording device? Or was this video altered in any way?
Hmm.
Is that a deep fake? So of that nature, that is the authentication side of it.
Yeah, and you brought up deep fakes, because I mean I feel like that's going to become just a very serious issue moving forward, because it can be so easy to manipulate videos and images. And I think a lot of people like right now do it as like kind of an obvious joke where they're like, kind of deep fake the president's face on someone who's just dancing, and it's,
Right.
silly. But I mean, ho in your opinion, I mean, how do you see this becoming, is it going to become a legitimate issue, or do you think it's, silly enough that like it'll just kind of stay in that kind of joke arena?
Well, I think at this point it is a legitimate issue already. It is not easily done, but there is ways to make a video look completely real
Mhm.
and completely fool somebody, not just visually, but with the voice too. So it is doable. Their technology exists to be able to fake people out. That's why they're called deep fakes.
Yeah.
And um, the thing is, that's a visual way to fake the video, right? So
Mhm.
just because it's fake in our eyes does not mean that the underlying files are faking us out too.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
when we're talking about authentication, the first step, sure, it's visually, like if it clearly looks like, okay, there's a dragon in the background, that's truly, easily said, okay, that's
Right.
fake. But in a sense, we go, that's the first thing that you just get out of the way. There's so many other steps that we take in order to see if something has been doctored with, if it is real or not real. Um,
Yeah.
so just because a deepfake is very, very realistic doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to fool us from a forensic standpoint.
Yeah, and that's, yeah, and I just had that light bulb moment. I can't believe I didn't think of that when I was prepping for the show. But yeah, I mean, I can just imagine that's going to be like one of the biggest things that people deal with in the next few years. Just like on a very, even
Yeah.
on a very personal level, like, like a guy, a girl breaks up with a guy, and then he can just, deep fake her to blackmail or ruin her reputation, and
Yeah,
and
well, absolutely, yeah, and that's, I'm not saying that's something that we're seeing, now, but
yeah,
it's 100% plausible,
yeah,
um, and then most common users are not going to go beyond, "Hey, does this look like my ex? Does this look like the person that I think I know, and are they saying those things?" Sure, I mean, that easily can be, achieved to hurt somebody's reputation or somebody's feelings or whatnot, yeah.
I guess the last thing that I have then, that I just thought of, just for my own kind of edification, just as someone who kind of observes this world as a consumer, you see all these crime shows, CSI or whatever the case is, and they'll have a scene where they're looking at a frame from like closed circuit television, and it's like super blurry, and then they just sweep over it, and all of a sudden it's crystal clear. How accurate is that?
Oh, 100%. We have the enhance button. We just click it one time and it's done. Um, no, I mean, honestly, that is one of the hardest things that we have to fight against from a forensic standpoint.
Yeah,
Um, your typical consumer, your typical person that watches something like CSI is going to be expecting those things, and even when we're going to trial, your jury is going to be expecting those things, and most of the
yeah,
time they're not realistic. There are many things that we can do, many techniques that we can do, but at the end of the day, if you're recording, 10 pixels, you're not going to make those into, a 4K image. So we do fight against that preconceived notion that people have. But there are techniques, like if we have something called like frame stacking. So if you have a video of an area of a parking lot, so it's a still video, it's not moving, and you have a car that's kind of in the corner and it's darker. If you take all the frames from a video and you make them into stills,
Yeah.
and then you stack them on top of each other, you can do a little bit of Photoshop work, a more advanced Photoshop, that you would average all the frames, and then from there you kind of get more clarity on what a license plate would look like. So there are some techniques that we can do to extract more information than it's easily viewed on a video or on a picture.
Got
Um,
it.
yeah, so there are some techniques that we can do, but the whole enhance button and clean this up
Yeah.
and zoom, 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 zoom until
Right.
we can see the person's image on the reflection on somebody's diamond ring.
Yeah.
Still not there yet. I wish I was, though.
Yeah.
I would have a lot more business if I did.
Right. Yeah. No, but I mean, still, I mean, I think the thing that at least I'm walking away from today is that, I mean, there's so much technology out there that can, get a lot more answers and help out way more so than, 20, 30 years ago. And so
Yeah.
it's a lot harder to get away with things,
Yeah.
And that's why, lawyers and all that come to guys like you to help out. So before we wrap up, how can people get in touch with Reliance Forensics and learn more about the services that you guys provide?
Sure. I mean, you can reach out to us. We have on our website is relianceforensics.com. You can call us at area code 980-335-0710. And we, if you give us a call, we can have a conversation on, depending on what your case may be. Every case is unique. We take all kinds of different cases, from big corporate cases to personal divorce, things like that. So it just depends on your situation. We try to talk through with the client to see what we can offer, what we can provide as a service. See if there's anything that we can do. We handle all kinds of different digital evidence, laptops, cell phones, servers, collections of cloud collections from iCloud or from social media, and we can do several different things, from searching for things that have been deleted in some cases, or just preservation. We can do, like I said, some of that media forensic stuff. We can do some enhancements. We can do authentication, even mapping of cell phone tower analysis. If you have, sometimes we deal from the defense side of things. If law enforcement has obtained cell phone towers for a case, we can map that and try to either disprove or corroborate whatever law enforcement is giving us.
Got it. Oh yeah. So I mean, yeah, just all kinds of things. Even if you're not sure, I think it's still worthwhile to give them a call and check them out and see if they can help in some way. So that's going to do it for us this week. I definitely learned a lot. Hope you guys, I mean, if you're a lawyer out there and you're in this world a lot, maybe a good, at the very least, a good refresher, but maybe you learned some things too about, just all the capabilities that are out there and available to you. Otherwise, continue to rate, review us wherever you're consuming the show. And that's going to do it. Edgar, thanks so much for joining us again.
All right, thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening. To learn more, go to spotlightbranding.com/centerstage.